What's up, everybody? We're back. We're back with another hot takes where we're always seeking to be humble, open, and transparent. And so I have a special gift today. A brother from another mother. But I tell you what, I'm always excited to bring on veterans, bring on folks who continue to be servant leaders in their communities, but just folks who are trying to do it better. The next day than they did the day before, through leading self and leading others. I have the pleasure, y'all, to bring to y'all Coach Spears. What's going on, sir?
Hey, how's it going, Lawrence? How you doing? I almost had to get my dancing shoes. I was vibing to the intro music.
I tell you what, like to keep it light. It's Monday,
Yeah.
and we like to get it kicked off. But before we get started with just who you are, what you're doing in the world, just tell the folks who you are, where you're located in the world, and then we'll get rolling.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to. So a little background about myself. Currently, I'm in Colorado Springs, Colorado. In my current role, I coach, mentor, and train students and student athletes at the Air Force Academy Preparatory School. I've been doing that for going on 2 years now. As far as a little bit of background, I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. Grew up in the suburbs of Dallas. Very close knit family. Raised on the principles of character, integrity, and respect. Both of my parents were working professionals and continue to be working professionals, but we're always home for dinner. Always home on the weekends. Had a very close knit family there. So another big part of my life was football. So being a Texas guy, that's kind of the thing down there. So played a lot of football growing up, and that presented me with an opportunity to receive a scholarship to attend my undergraduate degree at the Air Force Academy. So went out there, played ball. Actually happened to be the team captain. Had some great experiences on the Falcon football team playing with Coach Troy Calhoun, developing my craft as a leader at the Air Force Academy with all of its rigors. Probably the pinnacle of my academy career, my football career, was I got to present President Obama with the game jersey and football for the Commander-in-Chief Trophy in 2015. So that was really cool. So shortly after that, I graduated and commissioned in 2015. Married my wife in 2015, the woman of my prayers. And we got sent off to Aviano Air Base in Italy, where I served as a personnel officer for about 3 years. Had a lot of blast there as far as like being able to travel, being able to immerse myself in the culture. Working with Italian employees was phenomenal. So that was a good time there. And so I concluded my active duty service at the end of 2018. And like I said, now I've been back here at the Air Force Academy Preparatory School. So that's where I am currently.
I love it, and we have somebody in our community who was in that area. So I got some other veterans to connect you to,
No
that
doubt.
are out there doing some amazing work as learning development professionals, and I think they've done some work at the academy as well. But today, I know a lot of us veterans. It can be hard in transition,
Yeah.
particularly when you've been in a specialty, but on the officer side, we've had to navigate jack of all trades, master of none, and then
Yeah.
you get out, and you still have that mentality, right? Because I could get it done. I know how to lead people. But what has your attention these days as it pertains to what your purpose is supposed to be?
For sure, for sure. Definitely what has my attention. So I'm really big on personal and professional development, not only for myself, but also for others. And so I love to jump into that conversation. But really, what I do currently as a football coach, I like to explain it as there's two parts to it. There's the X's and O's side. So I coach defensive backs, and I'm the special teams co-coordinator. So there's all the tactics to football and how do you backpedal, how do you get out of your hips, how do you fit up a guy when you're tackling him. But then the other side of it is truly the development side, the personal development, personal and professional development side. So for me, what really gets me going in the morning, what really gets the blood going, is the opportunity that I have to impart knowledge and wisdom on these young men that I coach, that I mentor. And I'm not trying to just teach them how to be great football players. I'm trying to teach them how to be great men, how to prepare them to be fathers, how to prepare them to be husbands one day. And so that's the part of it that really gets me going in the morning. And so I'm very passionate about my development, but also for the development of the guys that I coach and interact with as well.
When you think about, because again, you talked about there's the tactics, there's the techniques of being an athlete, but I'm a huge believer in there's tactics, techniques, and procedures as it pertains to navigating life. And I
Exactly.
love that you pointed out the development side of things. Um, where are you seeing impact in that development work?
Yeah, for sure. I really see it in another thing that I hope we jump into today as well is just talking about coaching and professional coaching. I've stumbled into just what that is over the past, I would say, maybe 4 or 5 months. But really, that world, that whole industry has just opened my eyes to the opportunities and the possibilities. And one thing that I love about this industry is people who are in this industry, whether you're a client or you're the actual person coaching, they're very passionate about what their potential is and how they can fulfill that potential, maximize that potential, and then execute that potential and live in it. And so you talk about high caliber people, and that's something that God has blessed me with the opportunity to work with high caliber people all throughout my life, back home, and then at the Air Force Academy and the United States Air Force, and then now back here at the preparatory school. And so yeah, there's just something about people who know where they are and see where they are, but they want to get to that next level and they want to strive for greater and they want to strive for excellence. That's really what I've been noticing, and so that's what I'm all about.
And y'all know me. That that was great and all, but I can't go by it. I was distracted, Christian, because you kept saying Air Force. Um, and so I know we brothers in arms. I know we brothers in arms. And then my last deployment was with the Air Force, and they took care of me. And
Yeah,
it was my best deployment ever. Like if there could
there
be a
you
best
go.
deployment. But no, I want to ask you that response about coaching, around teaching, around mentorship, service. How did that impact the way you're processing your next step?
For sure, yeah. So yeah, as I was alluding to earlier, just how I was raised, on the principles of integrity and character and respect. That was really big. That my mother and father really, drove into us, me and my siblings. But then for that to have been, expounded upon once I got to the Air Force Academy. Now, I'm just messing with you. But as I got to the academy, our Air Force core values are integrity, service, and excellence. And so really that was just expounded upon in what I did as an officer in the armed forces. And yeah, it's just something about treating people right. I'm really big on equality. I'm really big on equity, fairness, and then beyond that, just doing things from an ethical perspective, from a place of integrity and character. And then the last thing is just doing things in excellence. So really, all those things draw me into what I believe coaching is, and not just coaching in the sports industry, but also in the professional realm as well, coaching professionals. And so yeah, when you tie those things together, and there's so many other characteristics and factors that go into it, but anything that revolves around those core values are kind of what I was raised upon and what's been drilled into me since I was a young man. Those are things that I really feel make the world go round.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna call you out right now, Christian. You sound like a values billboard. And it sounds real cute. It sounds real
Yeah,
necessary. But there's something that you pull into as a guidepost as it pertains to how does self-awareness become active in your life
for
to make
sure.
sure those things stay the main thing.
For sure, yeah. And that's a journey that I've embarked on. I wish that I had known more about self awareness as I was growing and developing, especially in my college years, and then as a young professional. But really, I've just got into beginning to attack self awareness and kind of make it my own. But yeah, self awareness. I mean, I've heard one author allude to it as the meta skill of the 21st century. And really, I was listening to a TED talk couple of months ago, and there was a guy by the name of Dr. William Sparks, and he was talking about self-awareness, and he has a book that I'll mention here in a little bit. But what I've realized is that there's so much more that goes into self-awareness than just what your strengths are. And I think a lot of times when we think self-awareness is like, okay, yeah, like what are the good qualities I have? What are the good, knowledge, skills, and abilities that I'm able to offer the world? But what I'm coming to learn is that that's only half of it. there's a whole nother side of self-awareness, like what are your weaknesses, what are your flaws. Dr. Sparks calls them shadows. And so it's like, what are your shadows in life? And then how can you acclimate and make adjustments to use those shadows or those weaknesses to your advantage, or just to accept them if nothing else, because self-awareness and self-love, is very important. And if we try to put ourselves in this image of, I'm a perfect man, I get all my things right, I have all my ducks in a row, there's another side of me that's in the darkness, that's really struggling. And if we're not careful, that can come out and, rear its head.
And I love that, because one of the things and one of the coaching modalities that that I took part in IPEC and some other things, we were calling that shadow work gremlins. And when you and I never forget, man, module 2, while I was in this program and really digging into it, was we had a gremlin project where we had to dig into that shadow work. And I don't know if anybody's listening and you're out there doing that work with a coach, right? I believe a coach should have a coach, so you can not fumble your way through it, but really learn to operate in acceptance, because that could be hard for a lot of people, right? It's shadows because you're casting or you're facing the light, and a shadow is being cast, and so you may not actually be aware of those things. And I love that you said, self-awareness is not just about the things that are known that you're conscious of, but it's also the unconscious stuff, or even the stuff that you put on the shelf that you need to address before you can actually move forward or even build out in this word we use in our world, sustainability. And particularly if those same things keep coming up and you haven't addressed them, to the extent that you need to use it and reframe it as not negatives, but as positive fuel. And that's also another one of the coaching things that I love that I've learned, is acceptance, right? Not trying to judge any part of my process, but I'm winning, but I can also learn how to win and not see it as failure and loss. And so when you think about kind of your first next step as it pertains to your coaching journey, building self-awareness, what's coming up for you as your first next step?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess on two fronts. So one of the books that I will mention and throw out there, it's a book called Insight by Dr. Tasha Urich. And it's a very eye-opening book, very compelling. And really, she has appendices at the back of the book that's just filled with exercises and thought-provoking questions and prompts that you could kind of engage in and go with. And so I would really love to dive into that. I'm currently pursuing a master's in organizational leadership, so that takes up most of my free time, and I'm not at work. But in between classes and when I have some, time on a Sunday morning or things of that nature, I really want to like literally get a journal and start working through those appendices. Because I think that's going to help me to dive deeper into what self-awareness is and help me to become more self-aware as an individual. And then as far as on the coaching front, I'm very excited, and this is something that Lawrence, but I will be participating in the weekend intensive program through Academy of Creative Coaching this summer, and so I'm completely excited about that. Believe it or not, Lawrence has actually connected me with a gentleman who had been in the program. I've been networking with tons of professional coaches from all walks of life, from a variety of different organizations, and so that's very exciting for me as well. So those are two big things that I'm looking forward to taking a deep dive into and seeing what comes out on the other end.
I love that. I love that, man. And it's funny enough, along your journey, and you reached out early, and again, I tell anybody who's listening, whether it's the live or the replay, just a testament to being intentional about what you've pointed out in your life that you want more information around. Just go after it. And again, before Christian reached out, like, we'd never met. But it was like, hey, we got similar, you heading in a direction I want to know more about. Let's connect. And it leads to things. And particularly, I'm a huge believer in professional development and upskilling. And one of the coaches that we just got out of intensive this weekend, Coach Michelle, joined the live today. And so shout out to Academy Creative Coaching, Dr. Pam, Dr. Sony, and the whole faculty and crew. because we got Coach Spears coming this summer. He's gonna get him trained
Yeah.
up, and hopefully we get you in the hot seat and all those good things. But you'll learn what that is. When you think about the type of coach, right? And I know a lot of we ask the students, participants, why coaching, why now for you? When you think about where you see yourself going, why does coaching make sense for you? Professional
For
development
sure.
coaching, why does that make sense?
Yeah, so when I think of coaching, some of it alludes to what I said earlier as far as just the development piece of it, and that personal and professional development of others. But really there's also the concept of potential. And I think whether you're a professional coach, coaching executives or working professionals, or you're a sports coach like myself, coaching athletes, there's something about potential. And as a coach, you're trying to help that individual to one, you're trying to help them to recognize the potential that they have. You're trying to help them to maximize that potential, and then you're trying to help them execute and to be able to fulfill that potential. And so what that looks like is recognize the potential. I mean, that goes right back into self-awareness. When you know who you are, you know what you're capable of, you know what your limitations are, you know where adjustments need to be made, you know where acceptance needs to be made. And then when you talk about maximizing that potential, for me, that really means leveraging your network. And so whether you're in a sports realm or in a professional realm, you've probably heard it said, if you're the smartest guy in your circle, you need to, grow your circle. You need to find another circle. And so really, I think that we have an opportunity to leverage our networks and tap into those people who are doing greater, going farther, doing more, just have the knowledge, skills, and abilities that we seek after. And then that's how we kind of maximize our potential or grow our potential to make sure that we're getting the most out of it. And then the last part, being able to fulfill that potential, that's obviously just where the rubber meets the road, and you put a plan together, and then that fulfilling the potential is about how you execute that plan.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna let you go past that because you got Coach Michelle that's in here, and she is all about everybody has potential and has the ability to be high potential, but it's something you said about the transaction and the movement and the activity to see yourself properly. Because let's be honest, man, what the quote goes or the saying goes, one of the richest places on earth is the graveyard, because of all the unrealized potential. But what do you see as the gap between what people know to do and that do part?
Yeah, for sure. I think you need guidance, and you need, for me personally, I would say, in my life, I've found that it helps to talk with people and rub shoulders with people who have been there before. And so I did a video a while back, just talking about, I kind of talked about self-doubt, and the idea of feeling not inferior, but feeling like you're inadequate. And I think that that's a very human phenomenon to be in your place, and to feel like, man, I'm just not enough. I'm just not adding up. And when we feel that way, fear and doubt often creep in, and those emotions start to creep in and kind of sit with you. And when you stew in that for a while, you do limit yourself, and you get caught up in that box of I'm in my comfort zone, and I'm just going to stick to what I know. And the whole world could tell you that, man, you have all the potential in the world, but if you're struggling with those feelings of inadequacy and you're allowing that fear and that doubt to compound, you're just going to stay with what's comfortable to you. And so I think what matters is you got to break out of that comfort zone, and you gotta, like I said, get yourself around people who see your potential and people who have executed their potential, and say like, hey, how do I figure this thing out? How do I execute? How do I move forward? Because the worst thing in the world, in my opinion, is to just be stagnant and to feel like you're in one place, and you let your fears and doubts limit you from going beyond and for doing greater.
Man, I love that because what came up for me right there was one of the books, early leadership books that I got my hands on, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And I spent a lot of time, particularly on the law of the lid. And really what you were talking about is again, sometimes of not even seeing yourself correctly, but the being faced with the imposter syndrome of the mirror, and this opportunity may be too big for me, but which causes you to kind of do analysis paralysis and causes of other thing. But the law of the lid, what I saw is and began to question my circle, but then what I needed to help others with, right? And so it's always looking for a hand up, but also making sure the other hand is reaching back and making sure that as you navigate others, it's a community effort, right? And I think a lot of times what happens there as well is, and what I heard in that was the a little bit of the scarcity mindset, right? The haves and have-nots, and the hoarders. And it's the parable of the talents, right? And it's like, hey, we all have them, but what are you doing with them? And a lot of times it's just getting around people who have an expectation of performing in a manner that benefits the team and the community as a whole. And when you think about your background, you're uniquely gifted to motivate, to encourage. How can you get someone, or what do you believe you have the unique ability to get somebody to take that first step towards operating in identity the right way?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a really good question. I mean, really, it boils down to speaking life into people. Like I said, we all. I'm sure if I asked 10 people on the street right now, hey, have you ever felt inadequate in one area of your life or another? I'm sure I'll get 10 yeses. But really, it goes back to just our innate abilities that we just have as human beings. We all have something to offer. We all have talents. And I like what you alluded to as well, as far as with Dr. Pamela, as far as we have something to give this world, and we all have potential. And so it's helping people to see that, and that can be difficult because a guy like myself comes from a background where I grew up middle class. A lot of things that I wanted in life I was able to get, and my parents were able to afford. But some people do not have that experience, and some people do not come from a background of such a supportive family as I was able to come back from. So I'm very thankful for that. But at the same time, I can't be blind to other people and their experiences. And so you got to tap into that. You really have to meet people where they are and realize and understand and give them a voice and empower their voice. And then you got to help them navigate through what those past experiences were, and how they can move forward. But I would encourage anyone, we all have fear, we all have doubt, but to operate from a place of fear or doubt, that's something that I want it to be, for lack of better words, just unacceptable. Like my brother, my sister, this is where we're trying to go. We're not going to operate from a place of fear. We're not going to operate from a place of doubt. We're going to step out on faith, and we're going to execute whatever the task is at hand.
I love that, because it's I didn't hear you trying to tell people they got to do it alone. And I really believe that's the pause, right? For a lot of people, that fear is like they close. It's almost like they close their eyes and then look around to see who's there, versus keeping their eyes open and like, no, who is there, right? Answer the question, who is there? And if you can't visibly see anybody right now, I know I'm looking at Coach Spears right now. Coach Spears is available, and so as you think about between now and coach training, how are you going to be in support of the community leading up to formalize coach training?
Yeah, for sure. One thing is to just really be appreciative of the relationships that I currently have. So my place of work, man, I'm blessed and fortunate and highly favored to be here at the preparatory school. We have a great coaching staff. We have excellent leadership. I love the students and the student athletes that I get to involve myself with on a daily basis. So really, in anything in life, it definitely starts with where you're at, and I fall into the habit sometimes where I'm always looking ahead. I'm like, this is who I want to be in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years. But then that robs me of being present where I am currently and just being grateful for what I have currently. So one thing is just to be present where I am currently with the relationships that I do have. Another step will be really just to cast the net out there and to see who's interested in this type of work, because believe it or not everybody is open to it. Not everybody sees the value in having to coach, but really just casting a net. And I would be really interested to work with people who really, again, going back to that potential conversation, who are trying to identify what their potential is and then how they can execute and grow in that potential and fulfill that potential. Those are the type of people that I feel like are drawn to this industry and drawn to this work. And so it'll just be, you know, putting a plug out there for who's interested in that and how can I come alongside of you and help you. And one thing that I've learned and that I'm learning about this industry as I've talked to numerous professional coaches, they always say it's a partnership. And so it's not about me coming in there and saying, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z to get where you want to go. It's about me coming alongside that individual and helping them to get to answers that really are already in them and they already know it. It's just a matter of me helping them to facilitate what that is.
Man, well, I don't know, Dr. Pam, Jay, we might need to go ahead and give him a certificate now. It's like he done read the book already. Well, I tell you, I couldn't have said it better myself. Christian, thank you so much for just the gift of you, and having that mentality right around supporting others. And I know I was harmed early by a coach who just wanted to pontificate and, you know, throw out their superlatives and how much I didn't have going on in my life. And so I love that approach to it being partnership, it being community, and the client having the tools. It just may need to be framed in a different way. And so I want folks to be able to contact you, reach out to you. Sure. How can they find you across social media?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm very active here on LinkedIn. So a simple connection, you know, reach out that way. I guess not a lot of people know it, but you actually can send a message when you do send a connection. And so a lot of people don't know that. They just kind of send out the connections. But, you know, I would appreciate a message. Just let me know. Maybe you saw the show or whatever. But, you know, if not, just a connection, and I'll know. You know, I love to connect here via LinkedIn. Another way is Facebook. I'm on Facebook from time to time. But really, I'm on there to just show off my lovely family, my lovely wife and children. So if you want some pictures of the fam, you know, that's where you'll find that. And that's just Christian Spears, obviously, my name. And then last thing, I don't mind, you know, sharing my email if that's appropriate, Lawrence. Yeah. And I can share my email and you can go directly there. So that's at Christian.Spears21, the number 21, at gmail.com. And feel free to shoot me a message there. Like I said, I'm very passionate about networking and growing in new relationships, establishing new relationships. So if anyone is interested, I'm all for it.
All right. Well, I tell you what, I'm excited about your journey. And you already know you got a battle buddy. That's gonna be with you for the long haul. So I appreciate you sharing your time. I appreciate you sharing the gift of you with the community today. And if you are and you got this, and chat, you might get your shout out in the chat.
Okay.
So it's all about our wing partners in life that ride for us and support us in along our journey. And I know I wouldn't be here without my wonderful wife as well, leaning into me being boss full time. And so they hold us down, and I'm sure your wife the same way. So thank you all so much for being here. And I tell y'all, if you want to be a part of a hot takes discussion, you're a coach, you're a leader, your practitioner is who I'm just wanting to have conversations with this year. And you're building community. I want to hear your story. I want to share you with the community of listeners, because again, I truly believe we are better together. And also, it's all about being humble, open, and transparent as we all grow to be better, not only for ourselves, but those we serve. So until next time, folks, connect with Christian across social media. Make sure you partner with him so you can get to where you need to get to. All right, y'all. Until next time, we'll talk.